Hi, and welcome to Convosessions. I am Sherri, and today our special guest is David Prang, and he is the CEO of the Brantford Chamber of Commerce. Thanks so much for taking time to do this with me.
My pleasure. Thanks, Sherri.
All right, do you want to introduce yourself? What are some of your responsibilities? What do you do?
Sure. Well, I'm the chief executive officer of the Chamber of Commerce Brantford-Brant, which is a business membership organization encompassing all of Brantford and Brant County. We also have members from Six Nations and New Credit of and Mississaugas of the Credit Nation. So what the Chamber does is we advocate for enhanced quality of life through economic prosperity, and that means creating a successful business environment. And the theory that if business is successful, that means our community is successful, because with successful businesses, you have lots of jobs, you have good employment, you have people being able to go out and invest in their community and spend money, but also earn money, and all of that helps keep, as we're experiencing now, we're all getting a lesson in local, regional, provincial, and national, international economics in terms of how the economy works. So the importance of a chamber, of a local chamber that's strong and effective, as well as our provincial and national chamber networks. It's even more important now to know how business works, because it's clearly affecting all of us.
Yeah, for sure. So what's happening in Brantford? Like, obviously we're seeing a lot of small businesses shut down. We just can't go to the offices. A lot of people are working from home. And then you have a few small businesses who are still operating. They've just had to pivot. So what's the feeling on the ground in Brantford?
It's a collective sigh, but also just an opportunity to rethink how businesses are working, and that's certainly the direct feedback that the chamber is receiving so far is either through memberships or members that are responding out and providing feedback through, and we've been promoting surveys through the city, the county of Brant, provincial, as well as the national chamber networks. As well as our board members. We have a robust, very strong board comprised of business owners, and what we're seeing is, some businesses are obviously shrinking and economizing. Some are responding and developing services and products, PPE equipment, those types of things, both in our community as well as for exterior wise. We've got, there's still businesses that are operating to, supply other businesses, so the business to business side of things. But really, in terms of the small business, that's providing a challenge. But it's tasking businesses to change how they do things, to move into an online environment, to economize and rationalize what they do, and perhaps be a little bit more creative in terms of how they're delivering services. But certainly, without a doubt, it is hurting, and that's where the chamber comes into play, to be able to hear those stories, both the good ones as well as the challenging ones, and to communicate those stories to government.
Yeah, I like what you said about now businesses have to be more creative, because that's truer than ever. Like, even for myself, I was just coasting, like I had some ideas, I was just doing my thing, and this just stopped me in the tracks, and it's like, okay, you have to pivot, you have to turn 180. What are you going to do? How are you going to evolve and move with this? Which it was a little easier for me. I'm online, but I'm looking at the restaurants. They really moved fast with their curbside deliveries or curbside pickups. It's just really interesting to see it. Like, there was a moment of shock, and then you see these people coming up with these awesome, innovative ideas that I think will actually carry them through, even when this whole thing dies down, we go back to normal. And I thought that was really neat, seeing how people creatively respond. Like, you have a problem, okay, we got to work around it.
Absolutely. And we're one of the things that, from a chamber perspective, we normally publish a magazine every 2 months that features things that are going on in the community, activities of the chamber, our advocacy work, and our events, and certainly promotes our events and activities. So with that, with our events being shut down or postponed, and and not being able to really, like, delivering a print magazine to business right now doesn't make a lot of sense. So we've pivoted to move to an online format, and normally have a nice center spread. So that center spread is going to be reflective of telling some of these stories about how, for example, Habitat for Humanity has done some good work in terms of a donation, those types of things. Laurier in the community has created a fairly substantial donation to both the Brantford as well as Waterloo's healthcare community in terms of a response with PPE equipment as well. So we're looking forward to telling that story in our May In Touch magazine, as well as continuing to collect and promote stories through our weekly e-news.
All right. And I was just wondering about the local economy. Do you think we'll be able to bounce back quickly? What do you think? And I know this is all like more of a prediction than anything, but how do you feel? How long do you think this will really affect us? Like, is it one of those things like if, say, September 1st, everything's back to normal, it'll be boom, back to normal? Or do you think there's going to be repercussions? And then the follow-up question is, how can we as people who live in Brantford and Brant County support our local economy to help boost it?
Okay. I think it's a tough question and with an easy answer. The best answer is I don't know. And I don't think that anybody knows because of the uncertainty around the public health message and medical officer of health messaging in terms of responding. We had this question actually on a call with the Ontario Chamber Network just an hour or so ago, in terms of can the Chamber and the Chamber Network influence how businesses the reopening schedule? And effectively the answer from a provincial perspective is not really. It's a medical officer of health decision, and it's going to be all driven by best information, best practices and then they're taking that information from the global perspective. So the best answer is I don't know, but I think from how our community has responded. We have a demonstrated history in Brantford and Brant County of being resilient. We had the early 1980s before, I was born, but very, very small and not part of the local economy just yet. But we had the 80s in Brantford where it was, an unmitigated disaster in terms of our local economy. And it took a long time, but as a community, we bounced back and we responded. And we were, up to a few short months ago, record low unemployment in our community.
Yeah.
So we have a demonstrated history in our community of bouncing back. We've had a strong chamber network. We've had a strong business community. That entire experience, definitely lots of struggles and challenges, but we've did the cardinal sin of a Zoom meeting and didn't turn off my notifications, but we we have a demonstrated record of responding positively and creatively. So I think we will roll out of this. I mean, the other unknown factor is really the technology that we're using right now, right? Like when we bounced back before, when the global economy's experienced these types of shocks, it hasn't been at the experience where digital online is at the level that it's at now, and it's only going to grow. So I think being able to utilize technology and pivot and create a more mobile, a more small business friendly environment as well, where small businesses can be created and respond to needs. And we were just talking before we started recording about subscription boxes and those types of things. Like, yes, those are easy ways to cut stuff or to cut in your budget, but it's also a great way of adding in a service that saves you time and potentially saves you money down the road as well. So if small businesses can respond in that kind of thing, I think we as a community, Brantford and Brant County are well positioned to grow and support our local economy, as well as contributing to the broader provincial, national, international economies through creating ideas and providing services to other businesses and other communities.
Yeah, I agree. Brantford's very resilient. You have the people, and what I love about this is that they are now. I think there's like more of a light being shone on local businesses, and I find like as a local business person, I understand how we contribute to the economy, how we kind of keep things running, how many actual small to medium-sized businesses we have in Brantford, which I think it's like over 4,000. As a business owner, I understand that. People who aren't, they don't understand like the implications of the potential hit we could take with COVID-19 on the local economy. This, to me, I'm seeing a lot of people rise up and say, you know what, no, we need to start supporting the local businesses. Instead of going to these big chain franchises, I'm going to spend the extra $2 and go over here. And I find that this actually might be good for small business in the long run, because I find that the local people are like, no, we need to support our local business owners. And instead of it, the cry coming just from us, it's coming from all around. So I think that's a huge positive, and I hope this keeps up even when things get back to normal.
Absolutely. And we're, the chamber's been, we've got our core group of great corporate business supporters and those types of things, but really like the core, like the majority of our membership are small, medium-sized businesses, and that is the 98% of the Canadian economy as well. So it's we're looking forward to being able to change kind of how we do things and create some additional opportunities to both provide value to our existing membership and to show that for those businesses that can use a hand and can use some support, that here's the value that a chamber membership provides.
Yeah. So in your chamber, how many businesses are represented?
We have just under 700 as of at the start of March. So that's a fair, our what's called a penetration rate. We're fairly much like Brantford as a community in terms of the numbers and the data in terms of employment and average salary, those types of things. So as a community, Brantford, or as a chamber, Brantford-Brant is right in the middle in terms of we're on the larger side. So many chambers across Canada are actually small chambers of commerce in smaller communities, and they are the main focus. So their penetration rate might be a little bit higher, but we're holding our own compared to our other chamber colleagues. And I mean that 700 number is I think it's going to be tough to sustain through 2020 because whether businesses shut down or whether you're looking for ways of economizing. If you're just not bringing in the dollars, then a chosen expense or an optional expense like a chamber membership could be something that you might consider. However, we've had since this started, we've had a couple of new chamber members sign up because there are benefits of being a chamber member that you can't get outside of that. And we're doing we're responding to the needs of our business. So we have deferred payments to membership renewals that are coming up in April, May, and June, being able to work with, and we want to work with our members to say, we understand what's going on. We're in the same situation. If we can bump your membership payment to when you've got dollars coming in the door, and when we can be, when you can think about the broader global economy, then let's do that. But let's not just remove your chamber membership because it's not a good cash flow situation in the next couple of months.
Yeah. And how are you guys pivoting with all this stuff? Before you mentioned the magazine, and we were kind of talking about you have a podcast.
So at the start of the crisis, we launched a podcast through Shop Local Brantford and Avery Moore Kloss, and we also did and worked with Brant.1, and I'm actually speaking with them again shortly. But work with Brant.1 to both feature what activities the chamber is doing, and we've partnered with our friends at the Paris District Chamber of Commerce and the BAs of Downtown Brantford, Downtown Paris, and we're able to support business members of the business community, and we opened it up to so it wasn't just chamber members, but that's who we were able to promote to because that's our audience. But we opened up the opportunity for them to be interviewed with Brant.1 to talk about how they're responding, and topical ones like Cosmic Communication, who's got the remote phone system that we use here at the chamber office that allows I can have my office phone ring at through my cell phone. Okay. Which we've operationalized that. IBC, personal computers, there are our chamber IT support. So they were able to move us to a remote work environment. So all staff are working from home with the exception, I come into the office to support the operations, but from home 2 or 3 days a week exclusively as well. So we've pivoted to a remote work situation, and anticipate that there's still some of the things that we're doing now we may be able to continue once the new normal is established. Certainly we have some operational challenges, like we can't do considering how to run a golf tournament remotely, considering how to do a business excellence awards dinner, where we've got great sponsors, great business nominees that we want to celebrate and acknowledge. So we're considering how to manage and run those types of events. And we have a step into spring event that is now step into summer, but depending on the guidelines, does that event move to, so we've got, like, there's all sorts of balls up in the air in terms of how we don't know what the guidelines are going to look like. And then even once the guidelines are lifted, how comfortable is the public in doing things? So, there's a lot of unknowns. And as I say to our staff, as we chat every morning in terms of what our daily activities are, and just say, like, we don't know. And the best answer is don't know, but all we can do is there might not be giant leaps forward, but there might be small little steps every day. And even if the step is taking a step forward, 2 steps back to consider the ramifications or consider the new information that's on the table, and then maybe it's a different direction. So I think, as we talked about at the beginning, if businesses, I think for us as a country and as a global society to come out of this constructively, I think the majority of the population, majority of businesses are thinking, like, there's going to be we're going to be back to something that is not restrictive, and what that looks like is going to be different, and it's up to us collectively to make that better. And I think business, the role that business will play in that is to continue to provide services and products that will do that.
Yeah, I agree. And the hard thing is that we don't know when it's going to end. It's not like, hey, you guys stay home for 3 months, and then we can be like, okay, we're just going to push our event until, because I'm at Brant Business Builders. We had our Brantford Bites event. It was supposed to be
Friday, right? Yeah.
And so we're like, should we wait till the fall? Like, it was just so many unknowns. It's hard to, like, move the ship. But it's kind of a day-to-day thing, and it's harder for the bigger businesses, I'm sure. And again, the Chamber would be a bigger business almost with all the events that you guys have planned. But so you're utilizing digital, which is great for my business, because I was saying for a long time, hey, go digital, go digital. And the people were just like, boom, we got to go digital. So I'm seeing a lot more Zoom calls, recorded Zoom calls that are becoming YouTube videos, or lots of networking online, which I like the networking face-to-face. I think there's something really beneficial to that. I'm all about networking. Once I started my own business, that's when I was like, man, this is like a pillar, basically, in my opinion, of business. That has taken a big hit, which has been hard, but the digital has helped soften the blow a little bit, and so I'm thankful for that. But I know it's just a difficult time. Like, any way you slice it, it's hard just because we don't know.
Like our signature chamber event across almost every single chamber is the business after hours networking events, and really the signature role of a chamber is networking. And it's and when I started in my role here last summer, part of my mandate is to reimagine what the chamber looks like. So we had a strategic planning with our meeting with our board in the fall, and that's not really relevant. That strategic plan is now it's literally on the shelf, because it doesn't reflect what 2020 has turned out like. But being a networking being a signature part of the chamber, and having the other there's a few other networking groups in the community, as you mentioned, and where the chamber plays in that space, it was probably the more it had been thought of, in my experience, as well as what I've been told, is like that's the old boys, literally the old boys networking group is the chamber, and then have some more of these responsive groups. But there's no old boys anymore, right? Like we're not a manufacturing community with a bunch of highfalutin CEOs. We are a nimble, mobile community with lots of different things going on, and lots of interesting businesses doing very interesting things. So it does prompt and does force us as an organization to respond digitally. And we haven't moved to we've been monitoring how other chambers across North America are doing virtual networking events. And I
Okay.
think one of the things that's maybe not spoken of too much is that all these Zoom calls and the webinars, those types of things, like the take up rate and the capacity for business owners to participate in all these things, like we're not finding in our community, and
Okay.
just to be blunt, that it's not like hundreds of people are coming on to these events right now. It's a small group, and I think our networking events were strong. We had a great base of people coming out to them, but when you move to digital, you lose that, as you mentioned, you lose that face to face. And
Yeah.
so we're considering how to do some virtual stuff, and I think I mean, most importantly, we have an annual general meeting that we have to do at some point in 2020, and we're going to follow our friends at the Ontario Chamber. We have our annual general meeting on Friday, so they're doing that virtually for the first time. It's supposed to be, we were supposed to be in Timmins, so I'm supposed to be on a flight to Timmins right now, but obviously that was canceled. But we're going to follow that model of how our Ontario Chamber partners are doing that, and my colleagues in my role at other chambers, we've started a virtual networking event on Thursday afternoon. So we've got that experience happening. So we'll look to be able to do something in Brantford with our, and we're going to partner with Paris, and we've had a great partnership, and it's actually helped this crisis has helped the Paris District Chamber and the Brantford-Brant Chamber work together much more constructively than perhaps we ever have. So we're really excited about that as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know what, again, that's like the pivoting that I think is necessary for a business to stay creative and innovative. And who knows now what the future could hold for you and the Paris Chamber. So
I think I mean, we've done and I have an experience with the downtown Brantford business improvement area as well, and it was I mean, first thought when this came out was, okay, we'll connect with Paris and let's get the BAs involved too, because there's some overlap in the work that we do. I mean, they primarily focus more on the beautification of the geographic area, whereas the chambers are a little bit more all-encompassing in terms of the entire community. But it was really a no-brainer to let's get the business organizations together and try and address this. And we have the two chambers have the capacity to manage and coordinate some things like that. But we're looking forward to working with Paris much more hand in hand, I guess, than we perhaps have in the past. And it's really and we've got members that are both Paris and Brantford, so it's really within our mandate to do so as well. So
awesome. All right, so do you have any good news stories to wrap this up? Thanks so much for taking your time. So have you heard of any of your businesses that are in the chamber? How are they pivoting and just like kind of blessing the community and just really helping out Brantford?
Absolutely. I mean, I can't say enough about Wilfrid Laurier University and their response. They were able to donate some PPE to the Brant Community Healthcare System. They're also supporting our In Touch magazine for this month, so I mean, Brooks Signs is another good one. They have a new ownership group that just really happened right at the start. Like it was literally like 1st of March kind of thing, late sometime in February. It was kind of public, and we're very excited to have them both be supporters as well as develop a product. I think they've done a lot of the plastic screening that you may see at retail outlets, so they've been able to respond that way. I'm trying to think of some others. There's many others. I think the food service pieces have been really good, and I mean, and our members have also been really good at providing feedback and saying, hey, I don't know how to handle this situation, or hey, thank you for doing that webinar. Like I did mention some lower participation on some webinars, but the first one that we did with a legal representation, with legal and accounting and HR, we had almost 90 participants on that call, which was fantastic, as it was enabled some professional advice very early stages of this process to talk about both what the relief programs were coming from the federal government, as well as because which were still pretty gray. And then how do you apply that on a day-to-day basis? So I mean, I'm not sure that, and I think that, we listen to the radio now, and the media is doing its job in terms of questioning and challenging some of the decisions that have been made in terms of response to it. But I think as a advocacy organization and something that the chamber has been known for as part of our mandate in terms of monitoring government.
Yeah.
I really can't say enough about our local governments, provincial and federal governments, and their response to this. And I
Yeah.
think as a good news story is Brantford's numbers. And just coming back to the health question, like business can't respond until the medical officer of health provides those guidelines for us to release it. And our medical officer of health and the city and the county's response and really our citizens' participation in keeping our numbers low. I had a friend of mine talking to them yesterday in Sarnia. And between Sarnia and Hallam and Norfolk, you look at their numbers and their population, you look at Brantford-Brant County, like we are doing so well. And that's, a direct result of this, city council, county council, and our citizens being responsible and, paying attention and listening. So, kudos to absolutely our frontline workers, from healthcare, first responders, as well as the retail people, but also like the citizen population as a whole for doing what needs to be done to keep the numbers down.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so impressed with the government on all the levels, like local, federal, provincial. They responded to this. They moved fast. I know a lot of people are like, well, what about this? What about this? But I'm like, man, they have a lot coming at them. And I think they've been doing a great job. So I'm really, really pleased at how our whole government is moving with this. So I think that's a really nice, good news story.
Yeah, I think we had in my previous life, when SARS happened, and in the organization I worked for at that point, developed the pandemic plan, and you sort of had the brainstorming how this would roll out. And with those pandemic plans, my experience in talking with everybody, like for the most part, great job at doing that in the 2000s, but okay, it's been on the shelf for 10 or 15 years. So I questioned, like, so to just pull the pandemic plan off and start, get to work on following the plan. Of course, that doesn't happen because the environment's changed so much. But the government had something in place, and we're able to roll out what that plan looked like. But of course, reality, based on, because those plans were based on SARS and H1N1, right? And then this is so much more of a global situation, so much more of a dramatic shutdown of the economy that, but yeah, like I think it shows that in really rough times, you've got in Canada and in Ontario and in Brantford-Brant County, we're really lucky to have people that have put in the hard work to get us into a good spot.
Yeah, I think things are looking up soon enough. So we'll see. Stay positive. Well, thanks so much for coming on and chatting. And I'll be releasing this on the social channels, YouTube, Facebook, some Instagram. And I just really appreciate you taking the time. So any last words to leave off?
Keep staying safe, and where you can, support your local economy, and keep the Chamber of Commerce Chambers of Commerce in our communities in mind, because we do some good work, and we have some great members, and our members are what helps is what's going to help our community respond and bounce back to be even better, in an even better spot than where we were going into this situation.
All right. Okay. Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks, Sherri.